session is called Qualifying for the Kingdom. And I just want to tell you, my own heart, I don't hear much teaching on envisioning for the kingdom. But this is our Father's heart. If I understand the word, He wants His kingdom come on this earth. If I understand Judaism, and maybe I do and maybe I don't, but what I understand is that they are looking for the restoration of the earth, because our Father will never let the enemy triumph over Him and His creation. And He's going to redeem everything. And so, dear ones, if you have Him in you, you should have the vision of His kingdom coming on earth, and you should be envisioning what are you going to be in that. You see, without a vision, people perish. And so you want to have a vision. Lord, where do I fit in your plan? I want to serve you. Didn't He say if you want to be great, you should be a servant? You know, my husband models that better than any person I've ever really known. I mean, he is a servant. He looks to serve every minute. And I'm not really inclined as much that way as he is, but I just learned from watching him. He's never out in the limelight. He never looks for applause, but he is serving all the time. So I hope I learned from that. But I want to serve in the kingdom. I want to be a part of that. And I think if you don't have a vision for that, how could you be going anywhere if you don't even know, you're not even mindful of the kingdom coming? You're just occupied with now. How to get through, people tell me, I'm just trying to get through today. Well, there's nothing wrong with getting through today. Yeshua said, don't borrow from tomorrow, it'll be enough for today, and I find that is so true. But still, I want to have His vision, and that is, I want to serve with Him in the kingdom. I want to come on one of the white horses. Maybe that's too big for me, but I've always liked horses, and I never could have horses. My parents weren't into that. Maybe that's reserved for later. But I read in Revelation 19, there's going to come with Him a great host dressed in white linen, His righteousness coming with Him. And I want to be a part of that. I love to be a part of that. And so I'm going to ask Him. And He told me to make ready a people prepared. So I'm trying to envision you. We're so near, I believe His coming from everything He's given me. I wouldn't be honest with you if I told you anything else. Get a vision, and it'll actually, He says, John says, if you are looking for His coming, it will purify your walk. It will make you a people watching how you walk, because you want to be ready when it comes. And now is our preparatory time. This is the only window we have of time to get ready. And let me say this, what you are in the kingdom, you will be for eternity. You're not going to have another chance. You're not going to improve your place during the kingdom age. You already have your designated place. I was walking in Rabbi Friedman's class one day, and he said this. He said, you know, people talk about going to heaven. Well, there's nothing wrong with talking about going to heaven, but he said, the problem is, now is your time to get ready to go to heaven. We talk about going to heaven, but then when we get the news we're going to go to heaven, we're not so excited. I've noticed that. So I'm not sure that we really have our heart, all of our emotions connected with our thinking. Words are very easy. Words don't mean a thing. It's what you do. It's how you live. What you are in the home. If you're not living it in the home and in the marriage, that's where you need to start. Because that's the basic unit that our Father established on the earth. Well, interesting. You have one, but I don't. That's not going to work for me, fellas. because I can't read that back there. I've passed that age. My glasses don't even make it happen. So I have to do something else. That's why Karen always has done my slides. I can't turn around and read it. That won't work for me either. I got to look at my audience, because when they're falling asleep, I got to do something. Okay, now we've learned that. Maybe I can work both. I don't know how that will work either. Well, we're trial and error here. It's okay. We're going to be fine. All right.
That's your work, Marilyn. That should be your clicker.
That's my clicker, but that doesn't click that.
No, that one does.
Yeah, I know. Okay, I didn't know I had to do both. Now I can do that. In your Teshuvah prayer guide, page 97, 98, is this article, Qualifying for Rank in the Kingdom. We won't read that right now, but I want you to know that what I'm bringing you is in your Teshuvah prayer guide. Before the foundation of the earth, our Father had a magnificent plan, and He's laid out that plan. It's all laid out. He knows what's going to happen, when it's going to happen, and He knows how you fit into that plan. And this plan I love puzzles. I don't know if some people either like puzzles or you don't like puzzles, but I love puzzles. And you know there's an art to working puzzles. Don understands that better than I do too. Of course, he's a little more bright. He's brighter than I am. So I expect him. He's a man. Women love for their husbands to be ahead of them. Yeah, we do. We admire that. But there's thousands of pieces to his puzzle, and you're one of those pieces. You fit in. And He's got you in a place that complements the whole big picture. Have you ever tried to work a puzzle and you didn't ever see the box top? You don't know what you're looking at. You don't know what you're working. My husband, when we work a puzzle, he's got that box top. I mean, he just almost keeps it under his arm because he studies that, and that's how he knows how to put the puzzle together. I don't do that as much as he does. I've also found out in the last few years, I haven't gotten to work a puzzle for a couple of years. Now that I'm not going to rewrite the Teshuvah prayer guide, I hope to get to work a puzzle soon. But I found out in some of the puzzles I've worked lately, it's been interesting. They've had the same cut for the same pieces. The colors are even work. They look right, but then you can't get the other pieces to fit. And so suddenly you get this piece and it looks right, the colors are right, it fits right, there's no jiggling or anything, but then nothing else will fit. So I had to learn, take that piece out, lay it over to the side, see if you can get other pieces, and pretty soon those pieces just fall right in. You know that piece is out of place. And when a piece is out of place, you can't complete the puzzle. So He wants all of us in the right place. You remember what He said? He's got a certain time you were to be born and a place you were to be. Now, I want to tell you your story. I don't even know some of you, but I do know your story. Because the story that the Father has fits all of us up to a point. And then you have to complete the story. But I can start the story. Our Father's plan in time before time. His plan is divided into two parts. 6,000 years and 1,000 years. We're still in the 6,000-year period. We're at 5,778, but you remember I already told you, I've already told you a lot of this is going to come up. So this is review. I see people need review. I talk to my class about this all the time. I ask them questions, they still can't tell me. I figure they haven't got it yet. Maybe it's just I intimidate them, I don't know. Anyway, I believe, in my mind, I add 210 years to this present calendar, and it's 5,988, and I think that we've got a few years, but I think it's very short, personally. Now, that's just my thinking. You may think differently. You are welcome to that. I'm not trying to make anybody have the same tell the same thing I'm telling, but I've got to be faithful to what He's given me. You understand? Yeah, I have a conviction about this. See, I'm getting You see this color of this hair. You see these wrinkles. I'm still able to go up and down these steps. That's good. But any day could change my life. And I recognize that. But from what he's given me, I think I'll be here when he comes. And you know that can't be just too long. But I'm ready to go. If he calls me home, that's great. Don't cry for me. I'm ready to go. But I'd like to finish the course, because that's the way I bring glory to his name. Isn't that what we're about? Bringing glory to his name. Father, I want to bring glory to your name. Now, Earth's prophetic picture is 7,000 years, and it's not going to be complete until we reach that period. Though there are thousands of pieces in his puzzle, but there are some key pieces that are very important. And that's true of your life. But of this puzzle, the commonality of each piece that we're going to share is about covenant. When I teach, you're going to find I'm very big on covenant, because covenant seals a matter. When he's made a covenant, he doesn't change his covenants. You know, he said to Abraham, this is an everlasting covenant. How did you understand everlasting? I understood it as everlasting. If he said you're going to have everlasting life, how do you understand that? Everlasting. And yet I have people say today, oh, the covenants are all finished. Oh, that's strange theology. And the commonality of each piece is going to be on the prophetic word, which is established on covenants. Prophetic words are promises, and promises are made up in the prophecies, but they're based on covenant. I have this little funny character that comes up on my screen and covers up my words. In Genesis 3:15 is the Adamic or the Edenic covenant, and it gives, now I'm giving you some things that are going to fit in to Matthew 5:17 through 19. So this is the purpose. I want to review for you some promises built on covenants. The Adamic covenant promises that there is a coming Redeemer who will crush the head of Satan. And you know what? When he says crush the head is the authority, right? So he's going to dismantle his authority, and he's going to bring back the authority he's going to bring it back under the Father. Win back what Adam and Eve gave away. Genesis 12, 3, and 17, 4 through 8. In Genesis 12 is not the covenant. Genesis 12 is the promises, but the covenant is not cut with Abraham until chapter 17, 4 through 8 says, Abraham provides that one will come from Abraham's descendants who will be the line through which all nations will be blessed. Now this is prophecy, dear ones. So we're looking, keep it in mind what we're looking at. We're looking at prophetic promises of one that's coming, right? Okay, just so you know what we're looking at. I've already told you about probably all of these, really. Oh, went too far or something. Yeah, but there, no, yeah. Mosaic covenant. I wanted to do a lesson on the treasures of the Torah. I didn't get it done, but this is one of the great, great treasures in the Torah, is Deuteronomy 18:15 through 18, this great prophecy of one that's going to come. He's going to be like Moses. He's going to speak just like Moses spoke. He's going to speak only what the Father gives him to speak. And this is the thing you must never forget. You will be held responsible for what this prophet brings. So every word that he spoke, we need to internalize it, because that is where we're going to be judged. The word will judge us. From what I understand, the word is saying. I don't know how many I've already given you. 4, 5. Here's another one. The Davidic covenant says that there's one going to come from King David. He's going to be his son, and he's going to build a house for the Father. Solomon did that, right? Solomon built the house of the Lord. But this prophecy is about the greater son. You see, Solomon is a type. He is a first, and Messiah is the second. Solomon is the natural son of David, and Yeshua is the spiritual. He does come from David's line because Mary comes from that line. And actually Joseph, but Joseph is not into the genetic formation of Yeshua. But he comes through Mary's line, which is of David, and so he becomes the son of David, the greater son of David. And what is he doing? He's building a house for his Father. And you are a puzzle piece, or we might say a living stone within the house. Ephesians chapter 2. So he's building a house for his Father, and he's the cornerstone. So there's the prophecy, and you could read Psalm 89. It's all about this Davidic covenant, and Psalm 132 is all about the Davidic covenant. And he said, I have made a covenant with David. I will not change my mind. The words that have gone out of my mouth are settled forever. And he says that he'll be the highest king of the kings of the earth. Is that beautiful? I hope I'm... So those are prophecies I want you to keep in mind. Every one of these, Adam heard a prophecy of a coming Redeemer. Abraham heard a prophecy. Moses heard a prophecy. David heard a prophecy. They're all the same. The same, pointing to the same individual. Now let's look at key revelatory passage Dr. Luke wrote. He made from one man every nation of mankind to live on the face of the earth. We all came from Adam. We understand that. That's been taught by me earlier and by Avi. So we're teaching that. And now is your time to live. Now it's your time to shine. It's your time to bring the kingdom to earth. The kingdom is in you. If the kingdom isn't in you, it's not coming in your where you stand on earth. If it's not in you, you're not bringing it to earth. But you are bringing it to earth. He's in you. But as you walk Torah, because it's the Father's teachings, you're bringing the heart of the Father's teachings to earth. It's in the heavens, but you're bringing it to the earth. And that's what he wants. He's already glorified in the heavens. But you know what he wants? He wants a double witness. Do you know that that's one of his ways? You must have 2 or 3 witnesses to establish a matter. That's in Deuteronomy. That's in 2 Corinthians 13:1. He says, by the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses, everything. When I get a word from the Lord, I wait to hear, when do I get a second? Till I get a second, it's not fully established. You have to have a second. That establishes it. So I'm just saying to you, you have an important role to play. Don't let the enemy steal from you. You're not important. You don't have an important role. You have a very important role. Whatever he's given you to do, that is your assignment, and he's looking for you to do it. And you're representing him in that square you're the puzzle piece. You're the puzzle piece that's making the puzzle complete. Yes, you are. That's right. Yes, I am. That's the way you want to approach it. You wake up every morning. Lord, I'm yours. What's my assignment today? I love to serve you. I couldn't be happier. Just knowing you. That's enough for me. I don't care whether I'm ever known. I don't need to be known. If I'm known by you, that's what's important. I'll probably never have any clout. Who cares? That's all passing away anyway, and besides, you might not need clout. Some people don't do well with clout. That will ruin them. He knows when to give you clout and when not. Don't let it. Just let him call it. He knows what he's doing with you. And I love what Rabbi Friedman, I heard him say many times, it's better to be hidden. Hiddenness is the best. You know, the first shall be last and the last shall be first. He has a place. He has a plan. He's working it out. He's a good father. He doesn't make mistakes. And he takes mistakes and makes something good out of all of them. The psalmist recorded, your eyes saw me, my unformed substance. In your book we were written. I was written. This is your story. I'm telling you your story. Before you were ever put together in your mother's womb, he wrote your book. He put your name in your book in the heavens. It says so in Psalm 139. And he assigned what he has for you. He has your destiny all planned. You're very important. He wants to use you. Don't listen. You know, when you get negative thoughts, you can test and know that's not the Holy Spirit. He doesn't come that way. Just immediately say, this is not the Lord. I refuse it. You have to take authority over your mind. You take the word and silence the enemy, and if it's your own flesh will silence that too. You have to take authority. And you have authority. You have the word. That's what the Father honors, his word. Messiah said to his disciples, you did not choose me, but I chose you. And I appointed you. This is your story. You didn't choose him. He came and he chose you one day. You don't know why, and I haven't the faintest idea why he ever chose me, but he did. When I was 17, he gave me a call. I was thinking about marrying a young man when I finished my education, and I had my plans. I was making my plans. In the summer of 1956, he began to deal with me. And he began to tell me, I want you to surrender to me. I have something. And I thought, what is this? I don't know what this is. And it grew stronger and stronger, and I'm like trying to push it away because somehow I knew it didn't include this young man. And I didn't like that very well. And I thought, oh, Lord, I really love this young man. But I just go on. It'll probably go away. But it didn't go away. And you know, I remember the night, August the 10th, 1956. My dear precious brother, blessed memory, was preaching a revival service. In those days, you know, we had testimonies and all that sort of thing. And it was so strong that night. After he gave the altar call, we always had an altar call. They were singing When We All Get to Heaven. What a glorious day that will be. And it was so strong, I said, Lord, I just can't fight this anymore. I'm going to go and surrender. And I went and surrendered. And my brother said, what are you surrendering for, sis? He always called me sis. I said, I think I'm going to India. I think I'm called to India. Really? I think so. This is so strong on my heart. And I think I'm going to India. And so I told all those people I was going to India. I didn't know it was just really surrender. I was so young. You know, you think of the hardest thing imaginable. And so the next morning, my uncle was there. Oh, it was such a glorious story because my uncle, I was his favorite. And he was my favorite. That's what made us favorites, because we were both favorites. He had a massive heart attack the next morning. And he'd gotten up and testified twice. He was so happy when I went. He was just came down and loved me and everything. And the next morning we got a call at 46. He had a massive heart attack and he died Monday night. But that was to happen that night. He was to be there. But the next morning when I woke up, the Lord said to me, now you need to break up this relationship. I knew it was coming. That's why I had resisted all summer. But I made the choice. He was my first love. He has to be my first love. That's why when I got that word, 9/11/1992, that we had left our first love, Revelation 2:4, I brought Julia Thomas, by the way, all the way from India. I brought her all the way from India. I'd met her at the Luzon conference, and she brought that message. And it hit me like a ton of bricks. I could still feel it. We were having all nights of prayer, days of prayer with fasting, 5 a.m. prayer 7 days a week, and that doesn't mean people taking turns. No, that meant I was there every day, 365 days a year, nearly 5 years. And we get this word. And I'm like, well, Lord, if you're not my first love, what have I been doing all this about? It didn't fit the picture, but that's the way I received it. Anyway, it's a long story. Do you know that I did not hear another word about that call till I was 40? Can you imagine that? I finally gave up. I said, I don't know what that was about. But Don came into my life. And Don was the man for me because I needed a Don. With the other young man was a wonderful young man, but I would probably had to work all my life. I would have been on the nursing floor nursing or else teaching in the nursing school, which I did at the university and loved it. But I wanted to be I wanted to do for the Lord. That was in my heart. And so with Don, I didn't have to, I just took care of our little boys, and it was wonderful. But at 40, right around Passover time, the Spirit hit me. And it's been hitting me ever since. Amazing. That's what that was about. It was about his people. But it wasn't, and I remember my father the next morning after I surrendered, and this is in the Torah too. My father said to me, honey, I don't want to discourage you, but you just don't remind me of a missionary. Well, I said, Daddy, the Lord can change us. I made myself get out and climb hills. I read books about what missionaries should do to prepare to go to the field, and they really were, it was kind of like this. But I thought, well, I have to do this because I'm going to India. Isn't that interesting, Rejoice? I get to go to India through Rejoice and through Julia Thomas and through another young man we support up in the Northeast, Pastor Gary. I don't know if Pastor Gary's here. I don't know if he got to come this afternoon. But we have some work going up in India in the Northeast. That's how I went to India, through giving and sharing in other people's ministry. It's really it's the best way I'm suited, Rejoice. So we didn't choose him. He chose us. It doesn't get any better than that. We didn't have anything to do with it. He chose us in our mother's womb before we were put together. Oh, how exciting. Uh-oh, I went too far. Okay. Well, I've told you all I know about your story. Did you get your story? Well, I guess there is a little bit part here. One disciple said, teach us to pray. Pray then like this. Our Father, we've already talked about this many times, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come on earth as it is in heaven. I call this the big picture of the scriptures. If you just want to boil the scriptures all down, this is to me what it's about. It's giving glory to the Father. It's restoring the Father's presence. It's restoring his identity. It's restoring his authority. It's getting in alignment with him, and it's bringing his kingdom to earth. And the question is, you have to finish the story. He's already done a lot for you, but you will be the one to finish the story. The psalmist wrote about Yeshua prophetically, Behold, I have come. In the scroll of the book it is written of me, I delight to do your will, O my Elohim. Your Torah teaching is in my heart. This is where you have to make a decision. Are you making a decision based on, I don't have Galatians 2:20 here, but Galatians 2:20 says, I am crucified with Messiah. Nevertheless, I live, yet not I, but he lives in me. And you know what that means? I love Oswald Chambers. I was reading one day, and he said, you don't have any faith. You're living by Yeshua's faith. Oh, that just put wind in my sails. I can count on having faith every day because he's going to have faith he has faith. So he's going to be faithful. And that's the reason I'm here, because he's faithful. It's not anything about me. He kept me at 5 a.m. prayer 7 days a week. He called me to do it. He'll encourage. Whatever he calls you to do, you'll be able to do. John's fasting all the time. I can't fast anymore like John does. It's amazing to me. But he calls him to do it, and he gives him the grace to do it. It's quite amazing. And Yeshua said, we looked at this, John 6:38. This is a verse you should never forget, because this is your pattern. If you're going to fulfill and be a shining piece, a puzzle piece, this has got to take hold of us. For I have come down from heaven. You came down out of the Father, and not to do your own will, but to do the will of him who chose you and has placed you at this time on planet Earth in the place that he has you. And that's where you're supposed to be. Okay, rank in the kingdom. This is a verse that changed my walk right here. This is, I told you about the little book I got. Matthew 5:17 through 19. And the more people I read that's getting their eyes open, it's this verse. Messianics even, and Gentile believers, this verse the Spirit is using. Now remember all the prophecies we've looked at, okay? Because we have made a mess of this verse, but because we did not properly exegete the word fulfill, which is plurosai in the Greek. Do not think that I have come to abolish, it might say abrogate, your translation, the Torah teaching, and of course the translators have put law there, but it's Torah. I have not come to abolish the Torah or the prophets. So what's he talking about? He's talking about the Tanakh, right? The Torah, the Nevi'im, the prophets, the Ketuvim, and all the writings. Remember on the road of Emmaus, when he's walked with them, Avi referred to that. He talked to them, it says, from the writings of Moses, from the prophets, from the Psalms. So he's saying he talked to them and showed them that he was in the Tanakh. All of the scriptures had been pointing to him. So he said, I didn't come to do away with the Torah, because people were saying that, and look how prophetic that is for our day. More so for our day than that day. And they must have been saying it, but he says, I didn't come to do away with this. I came to fulfill. Now, what's the rest of the text? I came to fulfill them. For truly I say to you, until heaven and earth pass away, not one iota, not a dot will pass from the Torah teaching or law until all is accomplished. Now, just exegete this part. If he says not one jot or tittle is passing away, then how could it be fulfilled and we don't need to do it anymore? It doesn't fit. And besides, fulfill, let me tell you what he showed me one day. I was brushing my teeth, and he said, this is why they're mixing up the word fulfill. They don't know all my prophecies out there. You see the prophecies we've just been through? One's going to come that's going to crush the head of Satan. One's going to come that's going to be seed line of Abraham, and all the nations are going to be blessed through him. One's going to come that's going to be like Moses. One's going to come that's going to be the son of David. Those prophecies are all waiting to be fulfilled. Got it? And he's saying here, I came to fulfill the prophecies. I am the Torah. Did you remember seeing that target Avi had and the arrow? I told you that Torah comes from the word yara, which means arrow. And you shoot an arrow to hit the target, and Yeshua is the target. He's the Torah. He's the living Torah. And the written Torah was always pointed at him. In fact, the Complete New Jewish Bible says, the goal at which the Torah aims is Messiah. They've written that Romans 10:4. I told you how bad a translation, that Messiah is the end of the law. How bad is that? It doesn't mean the end. It means he's that which has been being watched for. You hit the target out here. The telos. It's really the word telos, Ingrid, and it means you look like through a telescope to see what is at the end. And the end is Messiah. It's beautiful. Well, this is the thing. He said, I've come to fulfill all those prophecies. You've been waiting for me. I'm here now, and I'm walking it out for you. I'm helping you. I'm going to help you do the Torah. You watch me, and you'll see how to do it. But that isn't quite what woke me up. I want you to see what really rang my bell. And I hope it rings yours. Therefore, whoever relaxes one of the least of these commandments and teaches others to do them, the same will be called least in the kingdom of heaven. But whoever does them and teaches them will be called great in the kingdom of heaven. Now, I'm giving you Yeshua's words. These are not my words. It wouldn't amount to anything if they were my words. They wouldn't even be worth the time you sit here and listen to them. But he said, don't change my word. Don't relax my commandments. And he said, if you do that, you're going to be least. He didn't say you won't make the kingdom, but you'll be least. Well, that doesn't sit well with me. I'm a person that I want to be something in the kingdom. Maybe you just want to get in. You're satisfied with that. That's not me. I can't talk like that. I want to envision you to have a vision for the kingdom and for you to be a shining star, to be a puzzle piece, that your piece shines, that you have a place, a purpose. And you want that with all your heart, and you show it. And so he says, to do that, you have got to walk out the Torah and you teach it. And that's what I'm doing today. He's pretty clear here. He doesn't say if you fast and pray, you're going to be great in the kingdom. He doesn't say if you give all your money to the poor, you'll be great in the kingdom. He doesn't say if you go as a missionary to India, you'll be great in the kingdom. He says, if you obey my commandments and teach them. That's what he says. And that's what I'm going to say. Now, I already dealt with Colossians 2:16 and 17, so I'm not going to deal with that again. We have twisted that verse, made it say just the opposite of what it said. We have said about Matthew 5:17 through 19, how you could ever get this really out of this, I don't know. We just accepted it, and it became tradition. We are living tradition. He told me clearly in our class, one morning he gave a dream to Janet Rogers. She came in and told me the dream, and he had already spoke to me, the very thing that he was giving her. And he said, my problem with my people is they're captivated and they are under bondage in tradition. They think they're following me, and they're not. They're following the traditions, the teachings of the early Gentile church fathers. They're not following my Torah teaching. Let me ask you this, ladies. If I said to you, your husband fulfills his role, Would you not think it means he's paying the bills, he provided a home, he's provided for the children, he's provided insurance policy, he's provided a roof over your head? You don't think his role has passed away, do you? You're awfully quiet. If you say a wife is fulfilling her role, she's doing the dishes, she keeps the house, she takes care of the children, she does the marketing. And she speaks, correction to her husband when she needs to. Her role is not passing away. She's fulfilling her role. Your role doesn't pass away till you go to be with him. Well, his role didn't pass away either. He's still doing his role. He is our head and we're his body, and we should be aligned with him. Good. We're all in agreement. Must be right. Okay, I want to give you the litmus test of love. That's page 98 in your Yeshua prayer guide. I wrote an article on the litmus test of love. And the litmus test of love, this is it. If you love me, you will keep my commandments, John 14:15. What commandments do you think he's talking about? Did he bring a new set of commandments? If he spoke only what the Father spoke, how could it not? It's got to be the same commandments at Mount Sinai. It can't be something new, dear ones. No. Our Father doesn't have one set of commandments for one set of children and another set for the other. Now, we do that kind of in our home. We have children. We set high standards for our firstborn. Pretty soon one comes along at 40, and then we got to, we relaxed our guidelines. Well, our Father's not like that. No. He's got a set of plans. He's got purposes. He's got commandments. And he said, if you love me, Yeshua said this in John 14, when he's getting ready to leave his disciples, he said, if you love me, you will keep my commandments. And then I love this, in the very next chapter, in 15:10, he says, if you keep my commandments, you will abide in my love, just as I've kept my Father's commandments and abide in his love. See, it doesn't matter what we say, it's what do we do. Anybody can talk, but it's what you walk. Now, I talk, but my husband always walks. The Apostle John wrote, I tell you, there's no apostle so keen on the commandments as the Apostle John. By this we know that we have come to know him if we keep his commandments. Whoever says, I know him and does not keep his commandments is a liar. Ooh, I didn't say that. And the truth is not in him, but whoever keeps his word, in him, truly the love of God is perfected. By this we know that we are one in him. We are in him. Whoever says he abides in him ought to walk in the same way in which he walked. And he did only what the Father gave him to do. So you and I do not have authority to do anything but that also. And isn't that glorious? I think it's wonderful. I don't want to be out doing something that he doesn't do, because that's going to lead us to no good end. We're almost finished. Here's another verse by the Apostle John. By this we know that we love the children of God, when we love God and obey his commandments. When I started looking at these verses, I thought, where have I been? You know what? We read text with scaled eyes. They just go right over our head because we come to the scriptures with a mindset. And we're not even paying attention to what we're really reading. We're getting our Bible reading done for the day, but we didn't really see what's on the page. And suddenly, the Spirit's opening all these passages to me, and I'm like, my goodness, this is everywhere. For this is the love of Elohim, that we keep his commandments. And his commandments are not burdensome. You know what, dear ones? We have a mindset that's warped. We have all said, I'm glad we don't have to do what the Jews did. You got to get rid of that. That didn't come from the Spirit. That came from tradition and from your own selfish motives. Besides, it's not about you, it's about pleasing the Father. You start talking to yourself. Do you ever talk to yourself? Sometimes I look in the mirror and I say, self, you've got a problem. And I am not pampering you. You are not going to do that. You're going to align with the Word. You see, the Spirit must take authority over the mind realm. It's absolutely, I've seen people just go round and round a mountain because they don't take authority and they just can't get healed over something because they just keep reviewing it and reviewing it. And what you need to do is you take the Word and silence the mind. And the Spirit takes authority. Now that takes some training because you've trained so long to entertain thoughts that are contrary to Scripture. So you have to break that. Whoever keeps his commandments abides in Elohim and Elohim in him. It isn't about how you feel. It's about obedience. Now, I may differ with Avi in an area on forgiveness. When I read the Lord's Prayer, he said, if you forgive, you'll be forgiven. I find people who do not forgive have problems. I've seen it over and over and over. They dwell on things. They become bitter. I choose to forgive. I don't care if the person ever comes to me. They may not even know they hurt me. How can they come to me? They don't even know they did anything. But I got wounded. Well, get over it. In the first place, if you're dead, you shouldn't be wounded. You stick dead people with pins, step on them, whatever you want to do, they don't respond because they're dead. Robert Freeman said it, we just love ourselves so much. Learn to love the Father and let Him get you straightened out. It's so wonderful to be done with yourself and be free to serve Him, free to do what He wants you to do, free to be free. Who wants to be under all these bondages? He came to set us free, and who He makes free is free indeed. And if I got something, I love Psalm, I think it's 119, 165, says, great peace have they that love thy Torah, nothing shall offend them. If you're entertaining woundedness, you need to say, I'm through with it. I'm choosing to be well. I'm choosing to forgive whatever the problem is. Get over it. You don't have time. I'm telling you, dear ones, you don't have time to pamper yourself and all that. You're going to grow rapidly, and the Father's going to give you assignments if you can get aligned with Him. You've got to be aligned with Him. Whatever we ask, we receive from Him because we keep His commandments and do what pleases Him. For this very purpose I have raised you up. Now, this is written about Pharaoh, okay? This verse is in Exodus. Paul's quoted it in Romans 9:17, but it's really founded in Exodus 9:16, I think. And Moses said to Pharaoh, for this purpose, the Lord's raised you up to show His glory through you. Now, I'm turning this to the positive, because He showed His glory through a man that was obstinate and finally took him down. But through you, He wants to show Himself through you. He wants to use you as a centerpiece. Like you could say, He said to the evil one about Job, have you noticed my servant Job? He said, well, I don't want to go through that. Well, don't determine that. Just know that whatever your Father has, it's best. Look how we all read about Job and how he inspires us. Wouldn't you like for your life to be like that? You're not so sure. Well, I know when you're going through it, it's not so fun. But Father knows best. That's but you got to be convinced of it. Me telling you, that's not going to do anything. You got to know in your heart. I've got some situations in my family right now, they're rather overwhelming, but I don't let them overwhelm me. I'm saying my Father's in control. I'm going to pray. I'm going to believe. And Satan's going to get exposed. And something good's going to come out of this. And wow, no telling what's going to happen. I'm expecting a miracle. And it's going to take a miracle, believe me. So, my power in you, and that my name is, he wants to show his power through you, and he wants to proclaim his name through you. All you have to say is, I'm here. Hineni. Hineni. Here I am, Lord. That's what Isaiah said. That's what Abraham said. And blessed and holy is the one who shares in the first resurrection. Over such as the second death has no power. You just heard about second death. But they will be priests of Elohim and of Messiah. And they will reign with him for 1,000 years. Listen, it's coming, dear ones. The kingdom is coming. And you have a chance to be something in the kingdom. How you live today, what you envision for tomorrow, how you walk it out will determine rank in the kingdom. And Messiah desires that you would have a rank, that you would have a place. But it's determined, he said by his own words, it determined if you follow the commandments. You follow the Torah. Remember what he said to Joshua? This book of the Torah shall not depart out of your mouth, but you shall meditate in it day and night, that you might be blessed and prosper. He said, I'm going to prosper you. I want to bless you. Would you obey me? Whether you understand it or not, say, Father, I'm just going to obey you, because you never made a mistake yet. So I don't think he's going to begin with making mistakes with you. Hallelujah.